Israelis have been dropping leaflets on the civilian population in Gaza, telling them to go to Rafah. That's where they'll be safe. So about 1.6 million of the Palestinians did go to Rafah. They're crammed in there. And now the Israelis start to take down the hospitals, attack the schools. And last night they bombed a mosque, and they killed hundreds of people.
In the shadow of Gaza's unfolding tragedy, Scott Ritter's stark insights into Rafah's plight captivate our attention. Here, amidst the ruins, the human toll of conflict emerges with harrowing clarity. Each image from Rafah tells a story of endurance against insurmountable odds, of lives caught in the crosshairs of a relentless conflict. This is more than a crisis. It's a testament to the unyielding spirit of the Gazan people, resonating with a deep call for global empathy. As we delve deeper into Gaza's heart, the extent of this humanitarian crisis becomes increasingly evident. Gaza, a strip of land besieged by conflict, faces a humanitarian crisis of staggering proportions. In the shadow of relentless conflict, over 1.7 million Gazans, 75% of the population, find themselves displaced, their lives uprooted. Families, often moving multiple times, seek refuge in cramped and inadequate shelters, as the southern city of Rafah swells with a population that has nearly quadrupled. The health system crumbles under the weight of the crisis. Hospitals are overburdened, barely functioning, grappling with severe shortages of fuel and medical supplies. Amidst this, the spread of infectious diseases threatens a vulnerable population, their plight compounded by acute shortages of food, water, and basic necessities. The Gazan people, facing a daily struggle for survival, are caught in the crossfire of conflict, their plight a stark reminder of the cost of war on human lives. In the epicenter of this crisis, Rafah's story is particularly poignant. The plight of Rafah, in the heart of Gaza, paints a grim picture of the ongoing conflict. Once a city of relative calm, it has now swollen to over 4 times its normal size, with the population soaring past 1.2 million. These numbers are not just statistics. They represent families torn from their homes, children deprived of their futures, and elderly people struggling to survive in conditions that are rapidly deteriorating. The streets, lined with makeshift tents and crumbling buildings, bear witness to the relentless airstrikes and shelling. Here, in these packed and narrow lanes, stories of loss and resilience emerge. Parents recount sleepless nights spent comforting their children amidst the sounds of bombardment, while youths speak of dreams shattered by the unending conflict. In Rafah, every corner, every face, tells a story of a community pushed to the brink, yet refusing to break. Theirs is a testament to human endurance in the face of overwhelming odds, a narrative of a people clinging to hope amidst despair. While Rafah struggles, the broader military strategies in play raise critical questions about their impact. The military strategies of Israel in Gaza have come under intense scrutiny. While the stated objective of these operations is to target militant factions, the reality on the ground paints a different picture, one where civilians bear the brunt of this conflict. The indiscriminate nature of the bombings has been widely criticized. Essential infrastructures like hospitals, schools, and residential buildings have been hit, leading to catastrophic humanitarian consequences. Critics point out that such actions not only breach international humanitarian law but also question the morality of a military doctrine that seemingly places little value on civilian lives. The destruction has not been limited to physical structures. It has extended to the very fabric of Gazan society, tearing apart communities and leaving deep psychological scars on its people. Amidst these critiques, international voices have grown louder, condemning the disproportionate use of force and calling for an urgent re-evaluation of these tactics. As the dust settles on yet another battered neighborhood in Gaza, the question looms large: at what cost does security come, and who truly pays the price? The international outcry over the situation in Gaza has been loud and clear. Nations across the globe, human rights organizations, and international forums have expressed deep concern and criticism of Israel's military actions. Scott Ritter, a renowned intelligence analyst, has been vocal in his condemnation, characterizing Israel's approach as disproportionate and potentially in violation of international humanitarian law. His insights, echoing the sentiments of global leaders, stress the urgent need for a ceasefire and peaceful resolution. The world watches as diplomatic efforts intensify, but the path to peace remains fraught with challenges. As protests and international debates continue, The call for an end to the violence and respect for human rights grows stronger, reverberating across borders and continents. Amidst these calls for peace, Gaza's healthcare system faces an unprecedented crisis. In Gaza, a profound health crisis is escalating amid the conflict. The healthcare system, already strained, faces near collapse. Hospitals are severely damaged or non-functional, leaving more than 600,000 patients and health workers in dire straits. The World Health Organization, WHO, reports numerous attacks on healthcare facilities, including 304 attacks in the Gaza Strip affecting 94 healthcare facilities and 79 ambulances. In addition to physical injuries, the mental health of Gazans is under severe strain, with the need for psychological support, especially for children, women, and the elderly, becoming urgent. The situation is exacerbated by acute shortages of food, clean water, and medical assistance, especially in northern Gaza, where humanitarian aid is restricted and the risk of famine looms large. Pregnant women and newborns are among the most vulnerable, with a staggering number of pregnant women lacking access to essential maternal health care. Scott Ritter's observations underline the critical nature of this health crisis, as he emphasizes the devastating impact of the military actions on Gaza's healthcare infrastructure and the long-term consequences on the population's well-being. The International Rescue Committee, IRC, warns of the imminent spread of communicable and waterborne diseases due to the lack of safe water and the near collapse of healthcare facilities. Amidst these nightmarish conditions, WHO and other humanitarian organizations are striving to deliver vital aid and healthcare services under extremely challenging circumstances. As we reflect on the voices calling for change, we turn to the stance of the Palestinian leadership. The Palestinian Authority, led by Mahmoud Abbas, has voiced strong criticism against Israel's military actions in Rafah. Expressing grave concern over the humanitarian impact and potential violations of international law, the leadership condemns the escalation of violence and the targeting of civilian areas. Abbas and other Palestinian leaders call for immediate international intervention to halt the offensive and protect the Palestinian people. Their stance is clear. The actions in Rafah are not just an assault on a city but an attack on the Palestinian right to live in peace and dignity. On the ground, the Israeli military's presence tells another part of this complex story. In the beleaguered Gaza Strip, the Israeli military's presence and actions depict a landscape marred by devastation and suffering. The Israeli invasion, aiming to dismantle Hamas, has led to staggering casualties and destruction. Scott Ritter, a former U.S. Marine Corps intelligence officer, emphasizes the scale of this operation, noting its severe humanitarian consequences. Over 28,000 Palestinians have perished, including thousands of children and women. The Israeli strategy, marked by airstrikes and ground assaults, has razed much of Gaza's infrastructure, displacing nearly the entire population. Ritter points out the disproportionate nature of these actions, which have led to accusations of war crimes from various quarters. Israeli forces have focused on targeting Hamas military capabilities, including the discovery of a large underground weapons factory. This intensive military campaign has forced most of Gaza's 2.3 million residents into dire conditions in the south, many in makeshift shelters. The Israeli Defense Minister's post-war plans for Gaza suggest a controlled Palestinian governance, contingent upon non-hostility towards Israel. Ritter's analysis suggests that these plans could further complicate the geopolitical dynamics in the region. As the health ministry in Gaza warns of spreading diseases amid dire shortages, the reality on the ground remains grim, with Scott Ritter and other international observers calling for urgent humanitarian intervention to prevent further catastrophe. In response to these harrowing scenes, a global plea for humanity emerges. As Gaza grapples with an escalating humanitarian crisis, the world's response becomes a measure of our collective conscience. The desperate need for humanitarian aid underlines a profound global responsibility. Despite formidable challenges, including blockades and conflict, international aid agencies strive to deliver essential relief. This dire situation calls for immediate global action, not just in delivering aid but in seeking lasting peace. It's a moment for the world to stand united in compassion, to reach out with aid, to engage in dialogue, and to heal wounds. In Gaza's hour of need, humanity itself is put to the test. As we conclude, the words of Scott Ritter resonate, reminding us of the dire consequences of the conflict in Gaza. This crisis is a clarion call for global empathy and decisive action. The time for resolution is now. The international community must come together, not just as nations, but as a united front of humanity, to end the suffering and bring lasting peace to Gaza. Let's stand in solidarity with the Gazan people, their resilience a beacon in the darkness, their hope our shared responsibility. Thanks for watching.